Good afternoon. With voting on the 3 measures impacting the Riverview School District already underway, I want to express my sincere appreciation for the level of engagement and thoughtful dialogue we're seeing across the community. Our role in this process is to support you, the voter, whether you ultimately decide to support or oppose these measures. As questions come in, our approach remains the same: to respond promptly with accurate, complete, and factual information so voters can make well-informed decisions. That's what brings me here today. Over the weekend, a few questions surfaced regarding Proposition 3, specifically around the estimated cost of building a new Tolt Middle School. Many of those questions appear to be based on information shared without full context. I want to help clarify what the proposed estimates for the school reflect. To determine costs, our architects, who specialize in building schools, developed a preliminary program area summary. That means they carefully listed every space needed in a modern middle school designed for approximately 750 students. This resulted in projected building space of about 112,500 square feet, or about 150 square feet per student, a figure that aligns with recent middle school projects at both the local and regional levels. That square footage was then multiplied by an estimated $650 per square foot. One important distinction of the $650 figure is that it reflects the total anticipated construction cost. In other words, the estimate reflects not just the visible structure, but also the costs required to prepare and develop the site. It seems there are 2 pieces of information that have been missing from community discussions. One is what the construction industry refers to as soft costs. Those refer to the necessary expenses required to plan, design, permit, and deliver the project that are not tied to the physical construction of the building itself. The other relates to the fundamental differences between standard commercial construction and the specialized requirements of K-12 school facilities. In addition to site development, soft costs typically include professional services and project-related requirements, such as architectural and engineering design, state and local regulatory requirements and associated fees, furniture, fixtures and equipment, education-based technology and infrastructure, construction contingencies, and the list goes on. These costs also count for escalation, legal and financial services, and coordination work that ensures the building meets safety codes, accessibility standards, and educational program needs. The costs included in this estimate were approximately 40%, which for a district our size sits at the low end of the range typically used by cost estimators for school construction projects. Even though soft costs may not result in visible bricks and mortar, they are an essential requirement to deliver a safe, functional, and code-compliant school. Now I'd like to turn to construction costs. While it may seem reasonable to compare the construction cost of a middle school to a similarly sized facility, such as a hotel, those comparisons do not hold up under closer examination. Similar to a medical facility, K-12 schools are subject to a unique set of more stringent safety, security, accessibility, and educational standards than most commercial buildings, and those requirements are significant cost drivers. Also, comparing today's estimates to school projects completed several years ago, such as Mount Si High School, which opened in 2019, is just not an apples-to-apples comparison. Construction costs have increased sharply since 2021, particularly in our Puget Sound region, which has fundamentally changed the cost landscape for public school projects. I would like to close with this note. If the bond is approved by voters, a design committee made up of community members, parents, students, educators, and administrators will help shape the school's final design. In practical terms, that means you, the voter, will have a seat at the design table. By law, bond proceeds may only be used for the projects listed in the bond resolution. If all of those projects are completed and funds remain, the district is required to hold public hearings so community members can provide input on how excess bond proceeds should be used, including the option of using those funds to pay down the existing bond debt. We truly appreciate these conversations. This is why we love our community, because with each question, it's another opportunity to inform, clarify, and engage with you throughout this process. We encourage you to keep asking questions, keep the dialogue going, and remember to participate in the February 10th election. Thank you, and have a great day.